Kelly Clarkson stayed silent for 3 long years, 3 years of carrying a secret so heavy it nearly crushed her. 3 years of knowing something that could change how the world sees one of music's most beloved couples. And then last month, at a private dinner that was never meant to be recorded, Kelly finally broke. She said 7 words. Just 7. And those words shattered everything Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani have ever told the public about their relationship. What makes this story different from every celebrity rumor you've ever heard is simple. Kelly wasn't guessing. She wasn't repeating gossip. She was there. She stood in that room. She watched two people she deeply loved come undone in real time. And what she witnessed that night froze her in place, unable to move, unable to speak. But there's a part of this story almost no one knows. Before that night ever happened, Blake made Kelly promise something. A promise she was never supposed to break. A promise that involved a letter, a woman from Blake's past, and a guilt he had been carrying for more than a decade. And what Kelly finally revealed last month changes everything. By the end of this story, you'll understand why she stayed silent for so long and why breaking that silence now matters. Let's go back to a night that never made headlines. It's 2019. Blake Shelton's ranch in Oklahoma. Just after 3 a.m., the kind of darkness you only find in the country. No streetlights, no moon, no stars. Just blackness stretching forever. Gwen Stefani is sitting alone on the front porch, wrapped in old sweatpants. No makeup, no cameras, no persona. Just a woman staring at her phone, rereading the same message over and over again. A message that changed everything she thought she knew about the men she loved. Inside the house, Blake is pacing back and forth, his boots carving a path into the hardwood floor he's crossed 1,000 times before. Neither of them is speaking. And here's the part that should make your stomach drop. They aren't talking because there's nothing left to say. 3 hours earlier, Gwen asked Blake one simple question. A question that should have taken seconds to answer. The kind of question anyone in a healthy relationship answers without hesitation. But Blake didn't answer. Not for 11 minutes. 11 full minutes of silence. And somewhere in those 11 minutes, Gwen realized the truth. The man she loved had been hiding something from her for years. 2 months earlier, Gwen overheard a phone call she was never meant to hear. She came home early from the studio one afternoon. The house was quiet. She assumed Blake was working out back like usual. Then she heard his voice coming from a back room, low, intense, and unfamiliar. Something in his tone stopped her cold. She should have announced herself. Any normal person would have. But something inside her told her not to move, not to make a sound. So she listened. There was no other woman on the call. No affair. No betrayal like you'd expect. Blake was crying. Not quiet tears. Full, guttural sobbing, the kind that come from somewhere deep and broken. And between those sobs, he kept repeating the same words. I should have told her. I should have told her. Gwen stood frozen, her hand against the wall, her body going cold. Who was her? And what was he hiding? She never asked him, and that silence haunted her for 8 weeks. Every laugh felt hollow. Every kiss felt like a question she was afraid to ask. And Blake, who had spent a lifetime perfecting the art of hiding pain, gave nothing away. The secret finally cracked at a dinner party. Kelly Clarkson was there, along with several people from The Voice. Everyone was laughing, drinking wine, telling stories. On the surface, it was just another night among friends. But Kelly noticed something no one else did. Blake kept checking his phone under the table. Not texting, just staring at something. The same thing, over and over. And every time he looked, his jaw tightened just slightly. Kelly recognized that look. She had lived it herself during her own divorce. When the night ended and everyone else left, Kelly pulled Blake aside, away from the noise, away from the laughter, and she asked him one question no one else dared to ask. What are you hiding, Blake? According to those who witnessed the moment, Blake went pale. He didn't answer right away. He just stared at her like she'd reached inside his chest. Then he said 7 words that changed everything. If I tell you this, you can never tell Gwen. Kelly hesitated, because in that moment, she had to choose between protecting 2 people she loved, and she promised. What Blake told her that night stayed with Kelly for years. Long before fame, before The Voice, before Gwen, Blake had been in a relationship that ended in tragedy. The woman he loved gave him an ultimatum: choose her or choose music. Blake chose his dream. 2 weeks later, she was gone. The world called it an accident. But there was a letter. A letter she wrote the night before she died. A letter that made it painfully clear this wasn't an accident at all. Blake had blamed himself every day since. When he met Gwen, he saw someone else who was broken. Someone who might one day ask him to choose again. And he wasn't sure he could survive losing someone he loved twice. So he hid. The night everything came out was quiet. Gwen finally asked about the phone call. Blake told her everything, and when he finished, she asked him one question: "Do you honestly think I'm going to leave you?" Blake couldn't answer, because the truth was, he'd been waiting for her to leave since the beginning. Not because of her, but because he believed he didn't deserve something this good. That's when Kelly arrived. She had driven 6 hours after receiving a single text from Blake. She knows. Help. The house was dark when Kelly arrived. Silent. She walked inside and followed a sound she couldn't quite identify. And then she saw them, Blake and Gwen, sitting on the floor, backs against the wall, eyes red from crying, holding hands, not talking, not looking at each other, just holding on. Kelly froze. In that moment, she understood something profound about love. Sometimes, love isn't fixing things. Sometimes it's staying. The 7 words Kelly said at that dinner weren't an accusation. I've never seen love survive that. But the recording cut off before she finished. Until I watched them prove me wrong. They didn't fix everything overnight. They went to therapy. They had hard conversations. Blake faced his guilt. Gwen learned his distance wasn't about her. Slowly, they rebuilt something new. Not perfect, but real. Kelly was later asked if she regretted keeping Blake's secret. She paused. Some truths aren't mine to tell, she said. And sometimes silence is the loudest way of saying I love you. Blake and Gwen are still together, still choosing each other. And somewhere in Oklahoma, there's a porch where 2 people decided their love was worth surviving for.